We're sorry for all the technical difficulties that we are currently having in the LPL, but we're going to move from one venue to another. RNG have found their home venue at Beijing, and they're going to be playing their first home match there today. They're up against JDG. We're going to try and jump straight into that match as soon as we can, because the current match between WE as well as Snake, dropped down a little bit
tall, sorry,
still is undergoing some technical difficulties, and we're already into ban pick.
All right, so again, tell your friends, tell your family, get them to tell everyone, because RNG's actually playing League of Legends right now. We're in the Champion Select, and of course we do apologize for those technical delays.
We've got a friend with us, Rusty.
That's like voice
Do
calls.
you agree with his analysis of the draft so far?
We should actually talk about the draft again, not his analysis of that draft. We're 10 bans in and 4 picks apiece right now.
I'll speed run us through that as fast as we possibly can. JD banning out Nocturne, Talia, Yasuo, Vladimir, as well as Ryze. RNG, they're going to take away Jax, Singe, Graves, Camille, as well as Fiddlesticks. First pick for JD was going to be Lucian, followed up by a Kai'Sa Shen from RNG. Then it's going to be Lee Sin as well as Alistar locked in as the final 2 picks for the first phase, with Shen and Xin Zhao falling through. Then the next 2 bans, however, JD have already locked in their comp. It's going to be Swain as well as Zoe, their final 2 picks. RNG going with Aatrox, looking for Malzahar as their final pick.
Now the first question coming into this game as the Malzahar is locked in for RNG was, what will Uzi do? Will he play an AD carry? Will he play something crazy like a bruiser in the bottom lane? We weren't sure. But of course, you had to assume he would play an AD carry. He gets the Kai'Sa, and there is no ADs banned by JD Gaming away from them at all. So they still get the Lucian for themselves, and that's an okay outcome for Loken specifically. But you've just given Uzi Kai'Sa. You've given him Space Vein.
That's really scary, because when they're playing against Invictus Gaming, they said, you know what, we're going to ban 3 AD carries. Jackie Love, you're not going to play any of the picks you want to. Even Draven was taken away from that man. Uzi, who is probably the best player in the world right now, JD said, we're not scared. Pick whatever champion you want. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, that is super dangerous to do. And of course, credit where it's due to Loken. He's a super good AD carry, especially once you hit the late game team fighting. He is a team fighter in terms of AD carries, but that early laning phase, whilst Kai'Sa may not excel at that, the meta is so fast, it's so early game focused that it's probably going to be pressuring you down there. And they've even got that Malzahar to boot for team fight strength.
And it's something that these 2 teams do excel at, going towards the early game. JD were known for it during the spring split of the LPL, especially with the synergy between their jungler as well as their mid lane. They've often come up with some unorthodox strategies, which we've seen become not so much unorthodox anymore in the LPL. It's become meta to run unorthodox strategies.
I mean, JD and Sin Gaming were 2 of the rookie teams coming into this. Both of them had super early aggression. One team better at the mid game was Suning. JD Gaming in our set today was very good at the late game. It was that mid game hurdle, the hiccups they had there that were losing them a lot of games and sets above all else. They were 4th in the spring split. And coming into this first set against RNG's first set, I should say, it's going to be a difficult thing for them to try and navigate what is a weaker mid game for them to get to the late game at all. But if their early game stays strong, if the cheese perhaps that is there from cleared, he was a level 2 ganker before that was meta, like you mentioned.
Sure.
If that still exists and is still working for them, maybe they can get through.
Well, for the side of JG, it didn't work out so well for them against Invictus Gaming. They dropped that 2-1, but they still picked up a single game victory in that best of 3. They're going to try and take down RNG in this set, who have not played a game yet in this split of the LPL. This is going to be their debut back in Summer Split after taking the trophy home, not only from the LPL last split, but also at MSI. They are the champions of the world right now. They're looking to try and pull off a fantastic show at their new venue as well in Beijing. We're going to get straight onto Summoner's Rift for game number 1. JDG taking on RNG. And no matter what venue opens up, you're going to expect crowd chants for the hometown favorites. In this case, it's RNG. But JD fans, they've traveled there, making sure they're still there to support their team. And curiously enough, the first opening match of the LPL, where we saw JD play, there was a chant for RNG at the very end, giving some respect to the MSI champions who brought the trophy home for China.
Yes, in the next year of LPL, this is going to be a Beijing rivalry. Both teams destined to move there. RNG able to be there first. And of course, there is a curse that we have to speak towards as the recall keeps getting cancelled. That curse, Fish, is that if you play your first set at home, you lose your first set at home. Every team has done it so far, and this is RNG's first set of summer Will that curse continue?
On a new meta as well, and they're already going for what seems to be a lane swap. Zai is in the bottom side of the map, going up against Loken as well as Lumao. Uzi, top lane at the moment. 1-on-1 against Zoom Swain. His support, moving into the bottom lane. Ming is not even going to head up for this lane swap. Uzi, he's not an AD carry anymore, he's a top laner.
Yeah, note of course that the Shen was with MLXG at the blue buff at the start of the game. MLXG still now working towards the Wolves, maybe even Gromp wants to do a full side clear, vertical jungling to be seen from both respective teams. Uzi going for that solo lane top against the Swain. Not a bad lane situation for himself, particularly because Zoom doesn't know where Ming is until now. So he played very safely, gives the level advantage, gives control of the lane to Uzi, and now this Kaiser, who of course has teleport, is set to succeed in the 1v1, at least temporarily.
So that's the adaptation so far for RNG in the current meta. Uzi moving towards a side lane with a very powerful AD carry pick of Kaiser. Zatai, who's been brought into the first match for RNG, playing in the bottom lane with Ming to support. MLXG was their jungler of choice, not using Letme or Casa for their first set against JD. Now, I just want to remind everyone back at home that if you do want to catch the Snake vs Team WE match, they're available on panda.tv/LPL or douyu.com. You can watch all the action there on the Chinese broadcast. We will do our best to bring you as many updates as we can as the games go on, but you can always catch the broadcast there. We're going to be covering the RNG against JDG game from here on out. Now, let's go straight back into this match. We already talked about how RNG first set, they're trying to adapt to the meta. But JD, they had a good read on it. Even in their loss against Invictus Gaming, they still looked okay, and their mid-jungle synergy is still as strong as ever.
Yeah, it certainly is. Mid-jungle is always going to be a point of focus, particularly with our toothpaste in the middle lane there, Yagal. Very good player, very good upstart rookie as well, vying for Rookie of the Split alongside Knight, two of our best new mid laners, Chinese at that, so not taking up an import slot. MLXG now sets himself up in the top lane. Definitely not looking for a gank with the way the lane has set itself up though. More so protecting Uzi, as of course everyone is want to do.
And Uzi had the opportunity to push in against Zoom. Not only did MLXG start at the opposite sides, blue buff, picked up Scuttle Crab nice and early, made sure that Clid was nowhere close. But with the first recall coming out from Lee Sin, he's picked up his first skirmish with Saber, looking to try and move towards the top side of the map, turn the tides in their favor. But Lumao gets a scrying all bottom side of the map. Ming was a little bit out of position, but no aggressive fights in the bottom lane just yet. All eyes on this Muay Thai Lee Sin, looking for access to the top lane.
And with process of elimination, however, they have to assume that MLXG is also here. They use the scrying orb, they know the Wolves are there, they know the Gromp is there. The information, whilst it's incomplete, indicates that MLXG is here, and now we've got a standoff.
MLXG has a red buff, or it just expired, but he is level 4, a single level above Clid. It could be a disastrous fight for JD if they try to pick it against Uzi. Both junglers seem like they just want to disengage at the moment.
The mind games, who's ganking, who's counter ganking. Neither of them really know, but they both know the other one is there. So they sit in the bushes, they go back to base. This time, of course, Clid had already shopped, so he's just going to go into his own jungle, continue to farm. MLXG now going to do the same thing. We're still waiting for that level 6 from the looks of it now. Of course, the level 2 ganks didn't work. The level 3 and 4 bush sitting wasn't going to give them the experience or the kills or gold that they were after.
Yep.
So now it's level 6. For Clid particularly, if he hits 6, then he is going to be able to make big plays, diving with an Alistar.
And they've got some vision on MLXG as well, so Clid has some time to make his way into RNG's jungle, try and take away a few camps if he can, or actually put down a few wards on top of that. And we're still always looking at Uzi as well. In the solo lane at the moment, gets his base cancelled.
Clid knows where he is.
And Clid's been able to try and track just that. He's not inside the bush, who gets back in just then. Clid jumps over towards a ward, gonna try and slow him down, but easy and nice fast flash coming out from Uzi.
Oh, it hits!
Tagged, goes back in. Clid looks for the kill, gets tagged by turret. Uzi trades 1-for-1, but first blood goes to Zoom.
He manages to get the kill. I just think he assumed the execution was there. Clid could have auto-attack, secured it, and then flashed to safety perhaps. It's not a heal Kaiser, it's a teleport Kaiser, but the trade is made by Uzi in the end. But it could have been worse.
Manasyanko is looking to try and wrap around as well. Zoom at the top of the map, looking to recall. Uses his ultimate, tries to pull back MLXG. Level 6 against level 4. Trying to run away the demon. Not going to be strong enough. 300 gold to MLXG.
Last ditch attempt there from Zoom with not enough mana bottom lane.
Zatai already taken down. Loken tries to dash forward, gets that kill. Ming now trying to run away from this. Lumao, not enough CC to lock down the Shen. Loken gets additional damage, but can't get 2 kills. But JD, a fiery start for this team.
Yeah, JD just go ham down in the bottom lane, of course. They get the kill onto Uzi, and whilst he trades not ideal, but they get Uzi, and then they also get a tie in the bottom lane. Things going very right for JD Gaming this early on into the piece. But no, they're an early game team, so you'd expect it.
And you see everyone back on Summoner's Rift right away. immediately teleports in the bottom lane for Tatai. Immediately teleports to the top lane by Uzi. That is so weird to say, by the way, as we see big trouble bubbles, big battle stars in the mid lane as well, knocking Xiaohu out of lane. And that was a gank that was coming in from MLXG to try and help him.
This is so curious from RNG. Their obsession with keeping their AD carry to the top side after Tatai also died. They could have perhaps swapped them, but the teleport was done early.
And this is how it happened. So an engage should have come out from Lumao here, looking to lock down Tatai, and it's just full-on brawl. Loken dashed in, got that kill.
Yeah, the mistake here is ultimately that he was able to get all the cowbells off with the E, just standing next to the Shen, who could have left earlier. But Ming wanted to hold the taunt.
And good flash coming out from Loken as well. As the taunt came through, made sure he jumped over the Shen so he didn't get locked down, picked up the kill for JD. Very strong start for them. They've looked good at the start of the Summer Split.
He's level 7, so he has got the ultimate.
But will he expect Lumao to be top side of the map? Zoom looking to try and lock him down. Flash forward. Lumao gets the combo down. Dashes away from the pullback that comes out of Zoom. Great mechanics coming out from Kaiser. Ming now rotates towards top side.
Oh, he's on.
The rest of RNG is here too. Taunt flash comes out. Lumao's going to fall. Teleport cancelled. And RNG counter gank the top lane.
Xiaohu and MLXG just around the corner as well to keep their MVP alive. And now they threaten the blue side jungle. Definitely going to secure this objective for free. Clid trying to sprint his way over. Maybe to force a smite, maybe to steal it. But he's not going to be there near enough to being on time. All of this was very well timed from RNG as a countermeasure. And it was still JD Gaming going in first.
Certainly was. Fancy for footwork coming out from Uzi. RNG pick up a kill. They'll get blue buff from themselves and zone away Zoom for a little bit of time. And even though we talk about the King, we talk about Uzi being one of the best players in the world right now, almost all of us in the LPL didn't expect him to start in this match. We thought, you know what, with Abel playing in the Demacia Cup, with Y4 sitting on the bench, that's normally what happens after RNG come back from an international. One of their substitute AD carries would come in and play for the first few weeks, but it seems like Uzi, he's going to be starting right away for RNG.
And that always makes you wonder why, first and foremost, is Uzi even starting at all? You know, why would they, in a new meta, perhaps? Oh, hang on.
They already locked down Yakao. MLXG's here as well. They got the flank. He tries to flash away. Not going to be enough. Easy gank in the mid lane for RNG.
They're able to lock him down. Of course, now Lumao looking towards top lane, but Ming's going to be able to play defense. Clid also here level 6.
He's going to be able to stop the Alistar for some time, but Taunt doesn't connect. They're not level 6 on the Alistar, although Clid has hit 6. So dive a little bit more risky. Fizzles out top side of the map.
But I will say that the reason Uzi is starting, and this is speculative, may well be because they want him to practice on the new patch. And there's no practice like playing on stage. Scrims, they're good for learning, they're good for discovery. It's not going to be the exact same thing. So get that stage practice in, learn the patch a little bit better with your team, and make sure they know how to play around you still. Could be something that they are working towards. Of course, Demacia Cup with Abel was already a break for Uzi.
It was. And it just feels weird in a patch where AD carries are not necessarily 100% in the game, that Uzi, a player so well known for his mechanics, so well known for playing these ranged champions.
Do you want to ward it?
Might be forced onto a melee champion later on in the meta. A couple of teams have been moving towards only playing AD carries, and it might be the case that RNG follow through.
If Uzi kites to the left here, he's at risk of a Lee Sin and an Alistar going on him. Lumao has no flash, however, so it's all about pathing, and from the looks of it, RNG very vigilant in that they're not going to face check bushes, they don't know where they are, and they're going to take the safe option every single time. However,
JD
the dive is on.
JD are very patient. Lumao doesn't have flash available, but gets the flank. Uzi, level 8, tries to get damage onto Loken as fast as he can. Good taunt coming out from but they pile on into Uzi. Yakao picks up the kill with Battlestar. They take down the King.
Xiaohu comes up here just to defend the turret as well. Ming knows full well there's nothing he can do. He gets the taunt onto the Alistar. Lumao just presses R, runs back through. There's still pressure in the top lane.
Xiaohu's trying to clear this wave. Sleepy Trouble Bubble doesn't connect with either of the two champions. Mid lane is completely empty at the moment as MLXG even made his way up towards top side of the map, trying to defend the top lane outer turret. Fortification is now down for top lane and mid lane turrets. So they chipped away at that one pretty quick, but only got it down to just under half health. RNG hold on to their first structure.
Now, it is a turret that they can return back to, yes. So if they do get another objective, or another opportunity, I should say, to come towards the top lane, that tower is far easier to take down. And when you look at the structure's health across to the rest of the map, of course, you can see it on the mini-map, all very healthy.
No major turret pushes just yet, but RNG going to chase forward towards Lumao, locking down Alistar. Easy kill coming out from MLXG. Catching the cow inside his own jungle.
Again, another good reactive play from RNG as a result of the dive that happened first in top lane. No ultimate available for the Alistar, so he will inevitably fall down and still doesn't have that flash available. Good moves from RNG.
And somehow it just makes sense that MLXG is playing in this chaotic meta. Caster seems like the methodical, calculated player. MLXG is the coin flip, and now he's going top lane. 3-0-0 on his Xin Zhao. Chasing down Loken, looking to try and dash away from this one. Ming's up here as well. Ignite is ticking. And make that a 4th kill for Mala Xiangguo.
Yeah, 4-0-0 on Xin Zhao right now. MLXG is an absolute monster tearing through Summoner's Rift, and you see the example of it right there, how much damage he can put down to poor little Loken with no way out.
No way for him to escape that top lane gank. RNG are going to try and push for the first structure as well, but they're being chased by JD in the bottom lane. RNG still going to deny minions. Will that still give them the first structure? And it does, but they don't get the local gold.
Get the gold.
That's
oh,
a
no.
big misplay. RNG not sticking around for the local gold, gets taken down. Second structure follow through for JD. They're only about 1,000 gold behind RNG at this point.
You know what they should do to incentivize getting the local gold?
What should they do?
Is making sure that the first turret where someone is nearby as it falls is worth the first turret gold. That way you have to be near it, or JD in that trade would have got it.
First turret.
Yeah. Just an idea to muse over. Of course, it doesn't actually happen in this one. RNG just miss it, as JD will get themselves the follow-up turret. So it's just a good trade, and really in terms of gold values, that trade is worth about the same.
But RNG still hold on to a 2,000 gold lead. That quickly increases. They're able to pick up the bouncing minion waves during the trade. Uzi's now parked in mid lane, will be put to sleep by Yakao, but doesn't get the extra burst damage he would like. Still puts him down to about half health in that trade. Very fancy, very nice fancy footwork coming out of Zoe.
And for those who don't know JD Gaming as a team, you will know that Yakao on Zoe is a god. If you didn't, you do now. He's an absolute menace to deal with. He was one of the first players to bring that one out alongside Knight whilst we were comparing them earlier. And he'll be the first person to teach you firsthand just how good he is if he is fed.
And it's been one of the more impactful mid lane mages that you can kind of blind pick. A couple of players like Cool have tried to stop that by picking up assassins like LeBlanc, but still very safe blind pick mid laner almost.
Yeah, you can pick assassins into it. It's definitely a viable strategy for you to partake in. LeBlanc's still very good at dealing with champions like the Zoe, with all the mobility that she has for herself. But at the same time, you mentioned that it's blind pickable, and that's what gives Zoe so much strength. The fact that you can just pick that first if you're not worried about flexing champions or flexing roles. RNG and JD about to clash.
Dreamer looking to try and go for initiation. Gets silenced as he goes for the headbutt, so he can't follow up with Pulverize. Sleepy Trouble doesn't connect, but Malzahar ultimate does. Trying to lock down Loken. MLXG jumping to backlines. Loken in some trouble, but he gets the first kill. Uzi diving into the fight as well. Massive flight coming out from Aatrox. Uzi going even further forward, but Clint kicks him in the face. Roundhouse takes him down. JD trade with RNG.
Uzi steps up way too far on the backside, gets assassinated by Clint and Yagao. And the end result of that trade is just a couple members dead respectively from each team. It's 2-3. And so whilst it looks like it's a pretty big trade for the side of RNG, the problem is they're trading. So they're giving further objectives or gold resources to the side of JD. And we'll get to see this fight again. It starts with Ming stepping on the bubble as he falls to sleep. And watch Uzi, because he just tanks everything on the way through. Ults nicely to the side. Get this kill, call it a day. But he wants cleared and just immediately killed. There's nothing that he's going to be able to do there. It's no heal. And again, that's something that you have to get used to.
Clid played that incredibly well, getting the outplay against Uzi, but he did try to flash over the wall. But although Limao got his first engage interrupted by Xiaohu, it was a great silence to stop the Alistar following up. He got a great flash Pulverize to stop the follow-up that came out of MLXG when RNG tried to re-engage. So good support coming out from JD so far.
There's a couple of things as well from RNG's side that perhaps could have disincentivized them to look towards that fight at all, such as the Xin Zhao using his ultimate at the start to try and get rid of the headbutt Pulverize combo. Didn't have that to stay alive.
Nope, he did not. But he does have his ultimate now as well, so Bluma could look for another one of those initiations. Doesn't have flash. JD going to use their slight temporarily to take a Rift Tail for themselves. RNG nowhere close to collapse on that.
Oh.
Not able to defend, and LSG might be caught out. Going to get pulled back, dashes back in to try and go for a fight. But 5 members strong. JD catch out the jungler from RNG.
I swear I've read this book before. I've seen games where MLXG is 4-0 and then suddenly he's 4-2 and it continues until he's 4-5. And you're just wondering, you know, why? How is this happening? Of course, Herald going to get summoned. It's looking for the second turret. They weren't looking for one.
We should keep track of the gold because before that pick on MLXG, JD were 3,000 gold up. A trade will be made on the bottom side of the map. Xiaohu takes down an outer turret, but JD get 2 with the use of that Rift Herald, and now only 1,500 behind RNG.
RNG still having control of their side lanes, though. It's not just bottom where Xiaohu's pushing. You can see on the top side of the map, JD now have to answer that one as well. So RNG are still dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and trying to set up those side lanes. It's the rest of the map that's getting caught out of position, namely, of course, MLXG. That's something that can be fixed moving into the rest of this game. Keep the 2,000 gold lead that they've got for themselves and incrementally grow that one further. Just don't find yourself next to the Alistar.
And normally we see teams that go up against someone like RNG or IG at this point in the game start to bleed out. That's where RNG starts to roll over. But JD, ironically, are the team that are not giving up at the moment. They're fighting back, making sure they make their proactive plays, especially with Lima playing the Alistar, as you pointed out. So I'm curious to see where their next attempt to find a fight against RNG is going to be, because although RNG are ahead, it is JD that are looking for the picks. It's JD that are being proactive, trying to take objectives like Rift Herald and Dragon, which they've controlled all of so far.
They've actually got, and this is something that might even be weird, when you're looking at the completed draft of JD, like, well, that's not very meta, is it? Of course, Alistar Lucian is very strong in the bottom lane. Zoe is strong, but it's your Gao signature champion. Clid, like Lee Sin's decent, but it's Clid's signature champion. And then the Swain for Zoom, which you probably would assume is some kind of flex that went up there. We've seen it in bot lane more than we have top. Well, it's Zoom's signature champion that he's made highlight reels on as well. Overall, the only one that isn't a signature champion is Loken on the meta AD carry.
Which is an incredibly strong AD carry as well. A lot of teams are prioritizing Lucian as their pick. JD, however, seems like they could just be going for comfort in their first match against RNG, their third game in the LPL so far. Still trading turrets 1-for-1. They have Loken parked on the top side of the map as an AD carry. He is packing teleport, so he can join fights if he needs to. RNG try to push for an inner turret and successfully take it down. So a slight trade advantage for RNG when it comes to structures, but JD makes sure that the gold is still equal. RNG now have their eyes set on the second elemental dragon, trying to equalize the two clouds that have been in this game so far.
Good timing from RNG above all else. They've got the big item spikes in their back pockets now. 2 items starting to crop up for the mid laner of Xiaohu here, and of course the Guinzu's Rage Blade and attack speed completed by Uzi. He's looking to fight. All of RNG were looking for the opportunity to make a play, and it was gifted to them by JD, as you mentioned, of course, trading instead. Utilizing that the gold lead should stay the same as they want to get through that mid-game trough that they've always had as a team. Look for those team fights a little bit later on.
The gold battles are so even. Loken is slightly ahead of Uzi, but Xiaohu as well as Tatai are 1,000 gold ahead of their counterparts of Yagao as well as Zoom. So it's the solo laners that carry a little bit of extra gold, but 1,000 is just a component or two in your item build. So RNG and JD are still very close in this match. Turrets 4-3 in favor of JDG, and we're approaching the 20-minute mark. That's where Baron is going to come online. Infernal's going to be the next dragon as well. 2 big points on the map where we can start to see fights. And you're right about those item points. We even see Zeke's being picked up to help Uzi. We see the double item of the Titanic Hydra as well as the Rage Blade being picked up by Tatai. This is really where RNG can shine in team fights, but the same thing can be said for JD.
Yeah.
If they didn't have to build QSSs, it seems.
In saying that, there's only 2 people with the QSS up, and I'll give you the hot tip. Clid's looking to engage.
He is.
Because he's got a QSS rushed on that Lee Sin. So naturally, when you look at JD's composition, Alistar could flash forwards if he wanted to. Zoe could put you to sleep to start it, as can Zoom with the E. And none of that is really all-in committal. So it's good to throw pot shots, see if you can hit it and follow it up. But the kick is the one big thing that actually will commence that team fight. Literally kick it off.
We've already seen what Clid can do with this Lee Sin, not only in this match, but in this split. And we have highlights of this champion from last split alone. Trying to use comfort to outsmite RNG. RNG still going for the Malzahar, pick that we haven't seen too much of with the current meta, but it was the pick they played in their final game of MSI.
I speculated as well here that they may go towards this Baron early, 20 minutes into the game. You saw them take the Scuttle at 1950. They've got a Blade of the Ruin King AD carry as well in Lucian with the double tap.
Takes it down quick.
Very quickly they could remove that objective. The problem is how little control they have on the bottom side of the map.
Clid's able to tag Ming, decides not to go for any form of engage. And although the Scuttle Crab's about to wear out, JD have maintained vision control around that Baron pit. They still have to deal with an Aatrox who's split pushing in the bottom lane, and Tatai's, he's 40 CS ahead of Zoom at the moment. When you compare the likes of Let Me as well as Tai, even though Let Me played at MSI, this feels more like Tai's meta at the moment.
He's having a great time. Of course, he's finished his 2 core items. A lot of people who talk about Aatrox don't really have a definitive answer on what they want to go for the 3rd item of choice. And Spirit Visage is quite a nice one if you're sustaining through getting a tank item. You've got the opportunity there for that. But we'll have to watch as he progresses if he's going to go offensive or if he's going to commit himself to a bit more of a defensive build.
But they're going to go RNG, try to collapse into Gafgal, immediately using QSS and flashing away. MLSG pops his own ultimate and everyone's trying to teleport into this fight. Uzi actually cancels his, gets the shorter cooldown, but doesn't join the fight itself. Everyone from JDG trying to disengage. 2 flashes being burnt by JD during that engage from RNG. They're looking towards Baron now.
Yeah, they move straight over to the Baron. Scuttle's going to be free to take before all of this as well. It's about how do JD react to this. Do they assume that RNG are doing it and then move over? That's a scrying orb on yourself, not quite the target you're after.
Oops.
But RNG reveal themselves, so nonetheless, they know that it's not being done for the present moment. Or if you're RNG, you keep going.
Yeah, you certainly do. Uzi's going back towards top side of the map, going to clear out that wave, push it into JDG's side of the map. It looked like a couple of members of JD wanted to recall, but it seems like a very risky position for them to do so with Baron being so close, with Baron being much weaker in this patch as well.
And I think if you're RNG, you remember that Xiaohu will have his ultimate before the QSS is up and available. It's literally just ticked to up. So there's a chance that he could skirt his way around the vision, get the ultimate off before they can get out of it alive. And you can see him now.
And if you've listened to the calls, they know those timers off by heart. Locking down Yakao does pick up a flash and gets back to safety. Somehow always survives when Xiaohu goes for those initiations.
The Miracle Maker, of course, they'll find themselves out. Credit to the Alistar where it's due, though, for making sure his mid laner can stay alive. But you can see the strategy from RNG. Very cerebral stuff from them, looking for those ganks in mid lane. A single kill like that onto Yagao can be the Baron buff. So they're vigilant, they stay alive. The caution is there from JD Gaming.
Especially when he packs a lot of his team's damage. But their damage items are being slowed down. 3 members picking up QSS. Alistar doesn't need one with his ultimate available. And only Zoom prioritizing all his damage items first, trying to use the Zhonya's to get into these team fights as fast as possible. RNG, they're just been able to build whatever they like. Even a Shirelius being picked up by Xiaohu in the mid lane, making his team buffed up and moving fast when they go for the initiations.
Yeah, it's good. Of course, Xiaohu doesn't have the Ghost, doesn't have the Ignite or any other summoner spells. It's the Teleport, so having that Shirelius means that he can go for Flash Teleport, use that Ghost instead.
JD going to try and clear out as many of the wards as possible, looking for a fight in mid lane, but RNG just wants to disengage. All we have this time is the two teams reset. The set between WE and Snake has resumed. If you want to watch that, over to Doyu or Panda with the links on your screen to catch that match. But we're going to go straight back into this one, because RNG as well as JD look like they want to fight, Rusty. Baron's up, and Infernal Dragon's coming up shortly as well.
A little bit more aggression seen from JD as they push through that middle lane. It feels like we're having an ARAM fish, and that's because we are having an ARAM, but there's a lot more flanking and vision focus than what is reflected by 5 members being seen through that middle lane. A lot of the side laning that was done by Uzi has actually stopped. He started grouping up that little bit more. Xiaohu is the one taking that duty.
Butcher's Bridge just makes so much sense now that the current meta is all about fighting and fighting. You're right, Xiaohu is on the top side of the map. He is split pushing with teleport available. Clid trying to sneak in Infernal Dragon for his team. That's a nice objective to take, while the rest of JD keep RNG occupied. RNG want to try and take a buff for themselves. Blue buff contested here, picked up by MLXG. Not going to Xiaohu, the mid laner for the team.
Yeah, tragic for Xiaohu. Still good from RNG across the board to get themselves the blue buff, but they lose the Infernal Drake for it, so the trade's not worth it realistically. Yagao doesn't have a lot of mana, however. That is something that we'll have to continue to monitor. If he has no mana when a fight happens, things could be very dire.
Does have 2 charges of the Corrupting Potion to try and tick back up, but blue buff will be much more beneficial if he was able to take it. RNG not having just that. In fact, he's going back to base, not risking it at all, so giving RNG some time to reset the map.
You tried. Gold star for Uzi. It was meant to be a team play. Yeah, no more gold star, revoked. In fact, attention.
I mean, is that a bad thing? It's AP Kaiser again. That's what we've seen throughout the current meta. It does give him a little bit of extra AP, gives him a bit of extra cooldown
I'll
as
answer
well.
your question like this, Fish. Are you a mid laner or are you an AD carry?
I don't know. Uzi's a top lane at the moment. So you tell me.
Look,
I am looking. He was top lane when the game started. Zatai is the 80 carry. He's playing a champion that's 80 damage, Rusty.
I just didn't know in an A or B question you could pick C.
I picked D, Rusty. I didn't even go for one of those.
Oh, you would pick D.
RNG now still holding on to the mid lane, still trying to clear out as many wards as they can. JD keeping Zoom on the bottom side of the map. Teleport is available for their top laner. Zatai still doesn't have his, so there's a very, very small window that JD can take advantage of that.
Good clearing of the ward there from Lumao as well, using the sweeper through the river. No pesky wards at all, sneaking in from RNG to be seen, and the banner of command now it's dealt with gives an opportunity for JD first and foremost to clear the wards, secondly for Clid to accidentally aggro it and make everyone take some damage, but more importantly that they could hit the Baron if they want whilst people are occupied.
JD do have that reputation though. They are the Dignitas of the LPL. Baron
this is actually a real bad time for Ming. Sorry to cut you off. He has no control wards, no wards.
He's gotta go
they've
back.
spotted him with the scrying orb and they've cleared out vision absolutely, which means their only real option is a face check from MLXG if he's not feeling confident, but they're not taking the bait.
Yep,
they're not checking.
Logan's still in the mid lane, and it goes back to exactly what I was trying to talk about. It's a bad omen, Baron buff for JD. It was stolen away from them.
Just two-manned it.
So many times. Well, they're trying to two-man it.
I'm pretty sure Kaiser just used the W and barely missed. He scraped behind it.
So they don't know. Half its hit points. RNG are now going to collapse, but Scuttlecrab gets taken out by JD. Now spotted out by Uzi's W.
And you can see the Baron debuff that is on top of them as well. So RNG are aware that JD tried it. And that is something that in the game, in the mind games of Baron buff in League of Legends, now RNG will show more caution towards it. Because, you know, they actually hit it. They're serious. It's not just a threat.
JD must be feeling a lot more confident now as well, because 4 QSSs have been picked up by everyone that is not Alistar. And full stacks of Zoom's passive have been acquired. So RNG need to be careful on this next team fight, even though they have a 3,000 gold lead over JDG. And it's just been swinging back and forth, but largely due to the CS leads. We see 50 for the top lane as well as the mid laner. Uzi, of course he's 50, 60 CS ahead.
40 CS ahead of the clock, whilst all of his lanes have a 40 plus CS lead, because RNG thinks.
And normally we see Kaisers at this point in time go towards something like the Death Cap, maybe a Zhonya's Hourglass if you feel like being a little bit more cheeky diving into the back lines. But of course Uzi says, I'm playing an 80 carry, picks up the Mercurial Scimitar instead. A little bit safer for him. This is one of his signature builds, I'm going to say, on Kaiser. He was the one that popularized the Mercurial Scimitar as the third item, but not so much the Gnash's Tooth. Meanwhile, Loken's just dead.
Yeah, Loken just gets assassinated by Ming and Uzi. It looks like the Shen ultimate on top of the Kaiser going in. Maybe just a W connected. Coordination from RNG is always going to be tops. So with that one pick onto Loken, the opportunity to hit the Baron now comes up for RNG. But it looks like they're cooking up some counter ganks. But nope, they're spotted.
Spotted out by Swain, but RNG say, all right, let's try and take this Baron as fast as we possibly can. Xiaohu might be caught out here. Clid jumps in. Zonya's used instantly. But has to be careful. Wards up over towards the red buff, but he's nowhere for this fight. Zoom, take it down immediately. RNG get a second pick, and they look straight back towards Baron.
Yeah, Clid actually just runs the longest way possible away from his team, so RNG just turned onto Zoom. Again, great shot calling from them to find the target. Ming playing goalie, but the QSS is there.
He's trying to wait, gets put to sleep. Aatrox tries to jump over as well. Clid in some trouble, uses his own stopwatch. 2,000 invoice, can he try to jump in? No, locked down. Xiaohu stops him. MLG picks up the Baron. JD can't secure it for themselves. Yakao forced to try and run away, but Aatrox gonna keep on charging through. Goes to sleep, can't collapse. Loken wants to try and dive in 2-on-1. Uses the culling as well. MLXG is trying to collapse, but Loken wants to disengage. RNG get Baron buff for their team.
They get the Baron, and only Ming dies, and honestly, it's just so pretty from RNG watching them play this League of Legends out with their shot calling, with how quick they are turning, and the communication enabling them to do all of that. So they get the Baron, the gold lead stretches to 7,000, and they're continuing to push forwards with all of the kills that they secured after the Baron.
Both teams playing this so well so far, and all it took to break the stalemate. And the slight lead that RNG had was one pick onto Loken. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see how that happened. Uzi was able to tag him out, it seems, with Ming picking that one up, and it's just been methodical play ever since. Baiting up the Baron, waiting for the initiation coming out from Clid, taking one more pick before going back in. Things are not looking good for JD anymore. 8,000 gold in RNG, 2.5 minutes of Baron left. Unfortunately, it's the Baron fight, not Loken's fight.
Nope, Loken already dead. You can see Clid at this point probably doesn't need to, oh god, disappear with the QSS as the collapse. Oh my god.
Oh, hello?
We're back.
We're back. All right.
We're live. We're live. You don't... Alright. Anyway, they did get themselves the Baron and the kills from that. They did.
Well, we're taking a look in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. A solo kill that came out between WE as well as Snake. Easy pickup from there, really. They got a little bit of help. I was told it was a solo kill. That was a lie. Carthus got it. That was Pulse who told me that as well. Pulse, don't lie to me.
Solo steal, dude. Solo steal.
Solo steal coming out from that WE Snake game. Remember, if you want to watch that match, piano.tv/LPL or w.com/LPL is where you can catch all the action on the Chinese broadcast. We will try to bring you as many updates as we possibly can throughout the rest of this set.
But I will say, in this particular game right now, with the Baron there for RNG, opening up the map is all too easy for them. They've got the teleports. They can go to any lane that they would like. They can go bottom lane where the Aatrox, I feel like Zatai has rarely left that position. And now he's got the Baron buff against the Swain. He is completely unstoppable. And with this 3-man stack in the mid lane, still hard to kill.
Well, they try to force a fight. Uzi sidesteps the sleepy trouble bubble. It's not bedtime for him at the moment. RNG play it safe. Disengage. Still have a minute of Baron buff to work with. Zatai, he's still pushing the bottom lane. Klid's forced down here to deal with him. 2-on-1. Malzahar, top side of the map. Loken's forced back to base, and slowly these turrets are being chipped away by RNG.
Every wave that has a cannon is another wave that, whilst it may not even be Banner of Commanded, of course the one in mid lane is, it chips at the structures. And now JD, well and truly with their backs against the wall, have got one more wave at most to start looking towards the fight, or they just lose turrets.
Slowly, so many of these turrets being broken down. The Voidling's almost killing just that, but Unmax, she gets jumped on. Doesn't matter because Clip gets melted. Uzi jumps on top of him, gets that kill. 2 turrets broken at the exact same time. Only bot lane left up. Zatai gonna take that one down. Nice and easy, tearing apart. JD limb for limb. Now going for the fight. Flight comes in for Zatai, tries to knock them up. Uzi's got another kill for himself. Zoom trying to do what he can. Locked down by Mouser, using his own Zonias to stay alive. But the king has been left untouched. 4 hit points is Uzi at the moment. Yagao wants to jump back in, knock him off. Triple kill picked up by Uzi. Welcome back to the LPL, Uzi. That's a quadra for you.
Make it 4 as the game is well and truly over here for RNG. It explodes all at once.
Fantastic match, but RNG, the Kings, come back and pick up their first game against JDG.
You can hear the crowd, of course, in their first game in Beijing, RNG's new home arena. The crowd absolutely ecstatic to see the game victory. It's not the set just yet. Of course, the best of 3 still here in the LPL.
And that's the first thing that came to mind for me. It's not the set yet. RNG, yes, looked good coming into game 1. Made a couple of mistakes here and there, but hats up to JD. They played majority of that early game incredibly well. They were methodical throughout the mid game. It was unfortunate that Loken got caught out. We didn't get to see how that happened, but that was what started the ball rolling for RNG and what makes them such a scary team as well, even in MSI. You get one pick for RNG, they find one mistake, and they will punish you.
And it all started with Uzi in the top lane, having a solo lane with Ming going bottom. Looking towards some interesting lane assignments, avoiding certain people, getting some scaling up on Uzi, ensuring that he has some free time, and just pressuring Zoom. The assumed pressure gives Uzi that free lane for quite a while, and they get the farm going. But you mentioned JD Gaming, and you have to give them credit where it's due, because they stayed strong and resilient. They fought fire with fire. They went against the MSI champions with Uzi starting, not able to Y4, and they came at them hard.
They certainly did. They tried to fight back. Worked during the early and mid game, but one catch in the late game was enough for RNG to close out that match. And we've already talked about what are the adaptations we're going to see out of RNG so far, putting Uzi in the top lane, Zatai being supported on the bottom side of the map. I'm very curious to see if JD go back to what they did against RNG. Ban out as many AD carries as possible, put Uzi on something he might not be comfortable on, or something that he might be forced to play a bruiser.
I would love to see JD just push Uzi to his limits, get rid of every AD and try and even first pick, if they stay on blue side, another AD and remove every option possible from him. But it's unlikely. However, we did just see a comfort draft from JD. They could still do something crazy themselves.
They certainly could, but let's send it over to the analyst desk to break down that first match.
Thank you, Fish, and apologies about the call. Next time will be better. It's my first time out producing, so I'll do my best in the next game.
Oh, so the half screen was you, basically.
I was pulling the strings, man. But yeah, let's start talking about this game. So we had a somewhat conventional draft, I would say, from both teams for the most part, but then it all kind of fell apart when I saw Uzi in the top lane. So take me through that, Clement.
All right, so it's a really interesting thing that you see Uzi there. I think the core of the composition was to run Uzi's Kai'Sa and also pair it with Ming's Shen. And with Uzi running in the top lane, the cool thing is you can actually have the Shen go into the top lane and make plays with him that way. if to go back on this whole idea of why 80s are in the bot lane, it's because they don't mind sharing experience with people. All they want is the gold, basically. But bot lanes these days have become so bloodthirsty. You're seeing the Lucian Yasuo, you're seeing not Lucian Yasuo, Lucian Alistar, Alistar Yasuos pop up all over the place. It's actually now safer and more gold efficient to run some of your marksmen into the top lane instead. And I thought that was a pretty clever idea. He actually stayed ahead in farm most of the way throughout Zoom. The second thing I want to mention about is that it did avoid one of the big losing conditions with RNG versus Jingdong. Remember, Jingdong is no stranger to RNG. They're actually the only team to defeat RNG both times in the spring split. And a big reason for that was the solo lane. Zoom had his way with Zatai, and Yagao had his way with Xiaohu multiple times. And that sounds amazing, but it is true. In fact, Jingdong did win those solo lanes incredibly hard, but they couldn't do it against Uzi.
All right, Clement, you said a lot of things there, so I'm going to dissect the last thing that you said. Let's talk about the bottom lane and how bloodthirsty it was, because we actually saw the quote-unquote kill lane of the Aatrox and the Shen actually not do so hot in the bottom lane. So it's kind of at a point right now is where you look at your bottom lane and it's like, what are we doing? So like, why is that lane losing, and is that a good thing moving forwards for RNG?
Well, I just think that was kind of a reactive thing to put those two lanes in. I think the first thing was that they did see like Zoom pick into the champion, and then they said, okay, we're going to switch Kai'Sa back into the top. The bot lane is fine. It's kind of a kill lane, but it's really hard to go in on an Alistar. And Lumal is very accomplished on an Alistar, and the way they failed the kill is that, you know, when Jinx comes in, Alistar can easily kick one out, and he can pulverize another. So they really didn't have a chance to go in on the Lucian. Lucian was safe throughout, and they just managed to snowball lane kills by poking them down, and then just finally finishing them off.
I mean, that's the other thing, right? So if you have Uzi in the top lane, because we were having a discussion actually, where it's just like, well, is this actually a good matchup for Kai'Sa? Because, I mean, yes, it went well, Kai'Sa was able to farm, but is this just because it's Uzi's Kai'Sa, or is it because this is actually a good matchup? So in the case of you having priority and putting your ADC in top lane, is this always a good thing into these tanks? Because I feel like in a normal matchup with Swain and Kai'Sa, Swain actually has some ways into that lane.
Definitely, but Uzi was good enough to dodge most of the abilities, and we do have to talk about the adaptations that Uzi took. He did take the teleport, and he also took fleet footwork. Now, this is something that's relatively rare currently, because in the new patch, your range damage gets cut down to 20%. However, the AP ratio was buffed against champions, and if you're running an AP Kai'Sa in the top lane, you can kind of forego taking a little bit of poke right there. Most Kai'Sas right now do run press the attack, so that's a little bit of adaptation just to make Uzi a little bit more comfortable in the top lane. I thought it was fairly clever. There was a point, however, where marksmen in the top lane was getting punished very hard, and there's a big reason why you don't see marksmen there. It's because they are typically champions without a lot of HP. So Jingdong was able to snowball off of that point, but on the flip side, ML actually did punish them for it as well.
So you were saying that moving forwards, it's not always good to be the one taking priority to move your ADC into the top lane, only in specific matchups?
I think it's specific matchups. It definitely is that. If you can survive in the bot lane, then you should go into the bot lane. The extra experience actually doesn't matter that much, and you're much safer as a carry, just preventing your own death. So I think it is a matchup situation.
It's always interesting to have these conversations as the meta is still evolving and the teams are still trying to figure out what is best right now for them. I do want to take a look at JD Gaming, though, and actually what necessarily went wrong for them. Because we saw it in that game, but it seems like they've kind of lost their spark against RNG. Because as you were saying, 2 regular season wins against them in spring. So what do they need to reignite that ability going against RNG now? Has RNG literally just ascended too far past them, you know, becoming gods in their own right? Or is there still something that JD can do to deconstruct this team?
There's definitely things that they can do, and I think a first step is to get those counter picks back onto Yagao and your carries like Zoom, your good laning players, basically. And what we've seen right now is that Jingdong have kind of run out of their own strategy options, and they've seemed to default to straight going into Zoe first pick, and they didn't first pick it this time, but of course it was counterpicked. And I just don't feel like Zoe is that strong of a champion alone in lane. If you don't have jungle priority like they didn't have this time, Xin Zhao's a much stronger champion early game. I don't think you want to pick into Zoe because you're forcing yourself to actually snowball from the start of the game into the mid game. And what RNG had a very easy time doing was simply locking in a counter pick in the Malzahar and having a better jungle. And you could see the Zoe was never ahead of the curve at this point. And I think this is a big thing we saw from Jingdong in the playoffs as well. Going back to comfort picks, not really developing their strategies and developing their compositions. That's kind of a disappointing thing to see.
But the innovation did come out from RNG side this time around, and Uzi will take home the MVP in our first game between them and JD in a home arena in Beijing. And Uzi, as you can see, #1.
Oh yeah, he definitely knows. There's only two types of player at MSI. One is Uzi, and the other is the rest of the players. He was #1 on all of the stats, the damage, the DPM, the damage share, and stuff like that. And this game, you know, just going back to his Kaisa, showing that AD marksman champion are still definitely viable, getting a quadra kill at the very end and playing the laning phase quite amazingly.
I like that a lot, Clement. There's two type of players in the league. One is Uzi, and the rest is everybody else.
Yep.
I mean, it's honestly true at this point. It's just ridiculous what he's managed to do in terms of opening himself up compared to everybody else in so many years of competition as well for Uzi. Like, if I was like, this is first year like of pure competitive play, you're looking at newer players like Jackulov or even iBoy to a certain extent, you're like, wow, this guy is innovating, he's like a clear difference between him and everyone else, but he's just been at this for a long, long time, and he's still able to do so.
He's so good and he's so consistent. I think he is the protagonist of the entire League of Legends esports world right now. All eyes on are him. He was the crownless king, but now he has 3 champions within 2 months. Everybody's waiting to see what happens next.
Yeah, now he can't even hold all these crowns. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll be here for our second game in Beijing.
让我们把故事传唱下去，继续书写 RNG 的传说。